Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. I had a chance to sit down and do an interview with the co-author and publisher of Kim Lost Words, Chris Todd, the Kim Porter story. You may have heard him. He's been doing some interviews here online, making his rounds. So I sat down with him and we had a roughly about an hour-long conversation. You're not going to believe what he said in this video. He said every celebrity more than likely was involved here. I'm not talking about just the regular parties. I'm talking about the freak-offs. So I appreciate that he sat down with us to give us this interview. And without further ado, let's get into it.
Like 50 celebrities, 50.
Now, there's two different types. There's the regular party and the freak-offs. Are you talking about the freak-offs?
Correct. I'm talking about the freak-offs.
Oh, man. Yeah, Chris,
like
this is... do you think this will ever go public? I mean, if he goes... All right. So, Chris, how you doing?
Hey, Max. How are you?
Oh, it's a pleasure to talk to you. Your name is ringing bells throughout the internet. So, yeah, it's a pleasure to talk to you.
Yeah, I saw your stuff. I was watching you very early on when, Kim's Lost Words really broke out there. You were one of the first videos I was watching. So I'm glad I got to finally connect with you for sure.
Okay. Chris, one question I want to ask. Did you know Kim Porter at all? Did you know her personally?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I never met Kim. Yeah, no, absolutely not.
Yeah, I know some people were wanting to know because of the storyline. Did you actually know her personally? But you just kind of you maybe knew of her. Did you know of her throughout the entertainment industry?
I knew of her loosely, but I mean, look, I knew a lot more about Sean Combs than I did Kim Porter. I didn't really know much about his kids and his girlfriends. I don't think he was ever married, right? I don't think he ever married anybody.
No, he never married.
So, yeah, but I did. I mean, I probably heard her name and seen her, but I absolutely, when I first was introduced to what this was going to become, I had really no idea who she was.
Okay. Yeah, I know I wanted to know that. I always wanted to know, like, did you have any kind of personal involvement? But, Chris, I must say this book has hit the internet by storm. Like, as soon as the book dropped, I never forget, Chris, where I was at when the book dropped. Someone hit me up and said, someone hit me up and said, hey, Max, the Kim Porter book is out. And I was like, really? I said, and then I was looking at the name, Jamal T. Millwood. And I said, I never recognized that person before, but I said, maybe that person might have some type of affiliation with Kim. So I started researching Jamal T. Millwood and I couldn't really find anything. And then, Chris, I remember your first interview. I said, wait a minute, is that Jamal T. Millwood? Okay. How did you come up with the name?
So basically, because the cat's out of the bag and because Courtney Burgess has come forward and he's kind of entangled in the grand jury and with these tapes and flash drives. So Courtney Burgess came up with the name Jamal Millwood, not me.
Okay.
Courtney wrote another book, actually. People can look up. I'm not going to say it right here, and he used the name Jamal Millwood in that one, where he says the author's Jamal Millwood. So he was using that name as a pseudonym, right, or a pen name. Mm-hmm. And Jamal Millwood was kind of a name that if Tupac was still alive, he was calling himself Jamal Millwood. There were some other people that wanted to call themselves Jamal Millwood that looked like Tupac, and I had to look it up too. You know what I mean? I didn't know who that. I had no idea what he was talking about.
Right.
So I could have put my name, I could have said, by Chris Todd for Kimberly A. Porter. And I almost did. I had the option to do that. But for me, Sean wasn't in jail. It was a very dangerous situation. I was getting other stories about him threatening people and people potentially being unalived by him. I'm like, dude, no, I'm not putting my name on this. I'm like, no, let's just leave it as Jamal. I just put the T there for Tupac. So it's Jamal T. Millwood. And that's why I did that, to just add a initial there. So that was Courtney's thing. It had nothing to do with me. I wasn't trying to claim to be a black guy. Set the record straight, man. And that book has a lot of N words in there. I would never write anything where I'm writing the N word.
Right.
Okay. So it's just, but I knew there would be some, not blowback, but I knew there'd be some confusion about it.
Right.
So it's all part of the process. I'm not mad about it. It's just part of the game, and I just have to roll with it.
Well, I understood in the beginning anyway, because I was paying attention to what you said. And also I paid attention what you said recently. You said you did write some parts in the book, but you said that you received the manuscript and you put it out. So I was under the understanding that she wrote all that stuff. And, but I know recently you said that you added some, things to it.
Yeah, because in the beginning I couldn't say that because I needed to keep it kind of pure, that it was, just Kim's voice and words. So the way the book is 97%. I mean, I have to be careful what I even say. Let me say it this way. I'm the co-author of Kim's Lost Words. Okay. Because I may have potential litigation. There's threats of lawsuits. So they can even use this. The lawyers will find your interviews, what you said on the record and this and that. I was involved in writing some of that book. Yes, I was. In the beginning, I could not say that. I wanted people to it's Kim's, there it is. Now, if we got down to nitty gritty, the way I word it to people, and I've said this in other interviews, is I edited the book. I corrected a few things. There's not that many typos. They keep saying like it's riddled with typos. It's not. There's a couple typos. Okay, cool, relax. They say there's factual inaccuracies. No, there's not. I don't know what you guys are what you're talking about. This is her life experience. And also, if she's writing the book as a writer and she wants to embellish here and there, that's her right to do that. It's a story. So if the media tried to bash us, like, oh, this thing's riddled with like, who are you trying to stick up for? Sean Combs? Like, why are you bashing Kim's book? And that's why, in the end, a lot of this is going to come out, and these people are going to look stupid.
Right.
They're railing against an abused woman who wrote a book before she died, and you're crying that there's typos in it.
Right.
What are you doing? So. But my point is, I wrote the first page, which was the disclaimer. I came up with the title. I came up with the tagline. If you look at the old book, the first version that Courtney had from the celebrity source, it was called Tell It All. That's what Courtney gave the title of it as. Okay? Tell It All.
Okay.
To me, I didn't like the title. It didn't mean anything to me. I'm like, who's telling it all? Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
So I made Kim's Lost Words, a play on Last Words. Kim's Lost Words, a journey for justice from the other side, like a woman talking to you from the grave. And that's kind of my shtick. That's what I do. All my clients are deceased, have been unalived or disappeared. That's what I do. So to me, that excited me. I said, no, let's do this the right way. Let's put her picture on there. Then we had to pull it down. Of course, I was going to put a picture on it. What did they think I was going to put on there? I want people to see her and hear her and touch her, you know? So... But yeah, and then there's some parts of the book that I did have to kind of tweak a little bit to help her say things in a little bit of a more poetic way. I think it was very rough. I think when Kim gave it to the celebrity source, and I guess there was somebody else who had parts of it too, that Courtney talks about. So I think it was kind of roughed out, like diary. Some of it was dialogue, like, narrative. Some of it wasn't. And I think it had to be put together over time. And then when it came to me, when I read it, there were a few things I'm like, that doesn't make sense. That has to be changed. That sounds weird. That doesn't make any sense. So that's what I did. And like I said it before, Kim Porter's not Ernest Hemingway and she's not Jack Kerouac.
Right.
Okay. Neither am I. So don't expect her to she's not F. Scott Fitzgerald. Like, she's not going to just bust out in her first book, holy cow, this is brilliant. Like, that's not going to happen.
Right.
So I just tried to help her. That's really all it was. And I own the book. I'm the owner of the book, this version, with Amazon. And that's my contracted partnership. Amazon takes about half the percentage, half the money, and I get the other half. So I'm legally the owner of the book.
I think you answered a major question that I had. What was your involvement in the book as far as a literary sense? So you said that you wrote the disclaimer and you changed the tagline around. And like you said, if this was her rough draft manuscript, she didn't even have a chance to get it to the editor. You know, her life was cut short by pneumonia. And so she didn't get to an editor, and she probably had more to write in the book. But, you know, Correct. She didn't get that chance, unfortunately.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And she could have partnered with a real publisher, like a Penguin or Hardcore Brace. She could have found, people could have helped her. You know what I mean? A lot of times when you take a person, you have a ghostwriter or someone to help them, that's what you do. She never got that chance. So this is her raw words coming straight to you.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I was impressed with what she did. I was. There's a lot of cool things she does in the book. Like at the end of each chapter, she's kind of wrapping up the chapter. She knew how to kind of end it. She knew how to start it. Like a scene in a movie. She had an opening, a middle, and a close. Now the chapters are relatively short, right? The book really, the book is 59 pages. It really was only about 42 pages. It became 59 because of the font and the size, 6x9. You know what I mean? That's what made it longer. But the original, like, DocX PDF version, we'll call it, that was like 40-something pages long.
Okay. Yeah, that was my other question. When you received it.
That's why Courtney said that in his News Nation thing. When I got it, it was only 40 pages long. That's why he says the word 40. That's why Radar Online says 40. Because I told him it was 40. You know?
Right. Yeah, I was wondering that, when you received the raw file, how large was it? So, yeah, that makes sense. And then you had
42 pages.
Okay. Yeah. That's about right.
There were photos. I took the photos out.
Okay, and that's my other question. Okay.
There was a prologue and an epilogue. So there was an intro to you as if someone was talking to you. And I'm like, who's talking to us? It doesn't say. In 2017, Kim Porter gave me her book. Well, who's saying that? Like, and why aren't you saying who it is? Then I realized that was the celebrity source. They didn't want to say who it was.
Right.
So I removed it, and I removed the epilogue, the ending, talking about, the poisonings, what happened to Al, what happened to Kim, all this. I was like, no, let's pull that out. Let's just let Kim talk to them. And that's why I say in the disclaimer, in the future, I will reveal the other pages. I have other pages, too, that are in a diary form. They're like notes.
Oh, okay.
Is that, you feel me?
Right.
Yeah. So it was just kind of, first was the book to come out, whether you call it scripted, non-scripted, a story, a novel, whatever. That's what we wanted to come out first. And then, the crap hit the fan. And then it was like, we were just dodging punches every 2 seconds looking around. We didn't know what was going on. Somebody had called me. I was at a baseball game and they go, hey, your book's #1. I'm like, what are you talking about? I just looked the other day. It sold like 50 copies. No, you need to refresh. I'm like, what? When I went home and refreshed, it sold like 10,000 copies overnight.
Yeah.
So that's how I knew right away. I'm like, oh, shoot, this is it.
Yeah, it went viral.
And we did about 1 million. Yeah, we did about 1 million gross sales in 2 weeks. When they took the book down, it was making almost 10 grand net a day. Net.
Wow.
To me. Yeah. So think about that. I mean, I'm grateful for Amazon to help me make some money if they pay me and it all gets worked out. But they also stopped the gravy train there. You know what I mean?
Right.
We would have made a lot more money. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if you heard this. I've heard this maybe a couple years ago. I don't want to say his name, but he's a former bodyguard. I know he said that he heard that Kim was writing a book and she had threatened to put this book out. And next thing you know, unfortunately, she passed away. And
I will say this. I will say this too, unless you want to go further on your question, but I know what to say.
Oh, no, that's fine.
Okay. So let me say it to you this way. There were a couple people that knew Kim was writing a book. There were a couple people that knew Kim had the flash drives from Diddy. She took them out of his house, out of his safe. in the book, she talks about, I'm copying tapes. I'm putting things in the cloud. I truly believe she was. There were other people that had access to her stuff, okay? And so that's where those rumors came. She wrote another book too, like a music book or something. But this book, now I'll tell you this, I'm not going to say the famous people's names, but one source told me that Kim Porter had told someone famous they were going to publish, that she was going to publish the book. That person told Diddy. And literally within about less than a year, Kim was dead.
Wow.
And that's the first time I've ever said that.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it's definitely this. I remember when the book came out, like I said, it pretty much went viral. That's why you said that when you refreshed it, it was at 10,000. This book did go viral. I remember a lot of media coverage. There was a lot of people reading the book. That's how I know the contents of the book. I didn't read it. I listened to it on YouTube.
Yeah, sure.
And okay, so there was some talk around YouTube on how you acquired this book. You don't have to get into too much detail, but we know that you didn't know her personally. And I know that you're an investigative reporter, correct? Or investigative journalist?
Yeah, I'm an investigator, journalist, and author.
Okay.
And producer.
Okay. So these things kind of like find you, so to speak.
Yeah, I can go. It's an interesting story how I got it. So
Okay.
I'm willing to give you the
if you're
version,
comfortable with it,
absolutely.
okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the cat's out of the bag a little,
Right.
so I can tell the story.
Okay.
And I love the story behind the story. I really do. I think there's always a story behind the scenes, and so basically, it kind of came to me in a weird way. And I usually think that the victims come to me in some way. I always say that if your murder case or unaliving or disappearance or kidnapping, if it comes on my desk, the victims got it to me somehow. Somehow, some way, someone found me or I found them, something more spiritual and supernatural is involved. So let me say that first off.
I believe in that too.
I did good. Okay, good. I did an interview on a true crime podcast. I met a couple different podcasters over about a 6 to 8 month period. I did my OJ, Natalie Wood, Zodiac, Biggie, JFK interviews. I met a couple people through them. When I met this one guy, I did a video with him. After the video was over, I said, I want to know some more people. This guy introduced me to someone that when I talked to him on the phone, he goes, I got Kim Porter's book. And I'm like, what does that mean? He goes, well, they published this book. Somebody made a book and I bought it. And I go, okay, how much you pay for it? Like $2,000? Like, I didn't do you meant. Like, do you own the book? Or no, I don't own the book. I bought it. And I flew there to get it. And I'm like, you flew there to get it? What's up with this book? He's like, well, that's what I'm trying to say. And I go, well, can you send it to me? And he's like, no. I'm like, okay. Is it published? Yeah, but it's like, you got to buy it from us directly. It's in boxes. And that was Tell It All. That book that Courtney Burgess holds up and they talk about, that's Courtney Burgess's book that he had gotten from a source close to Diddy and Kim. Okay? Now, the guy I was talking to knew who Courtney was, but didn't know him personally. So what Courtney was doing was he was kind of like handing out the book or selling it to select people a year and a half ago. Over time, one of those copies ended up in this guy's hands, and that guy I eventually met. After that, about 4 months went by, and he finally showed me 5 pages, and I didn't believe it. I was like, what is this? Why is this so sexual? Like, what's going on? Who? And then I did homework. I'm like, okay, Kim Porter, she's probably abused. Oh, she probably knows a lot of crazy stuff.
Right.
Like, so it started to pique my interest. So then I was kind of like, all right, I'll do it. I'm all in. Now, who's got the whole book? Where's the book? And that's when they introduced me to Courtney Burgess. And I bonded with Courtney. We kind of told war stories. I'm an East Coast guy, so is he. We talked a lot about hip hop and music and movies. And it just, over a couple months, we kind of became friends. And then, he asked me to kind of hire him in a way, let's just say, and I'm sure he has more money than I do, but I understood what he meant. He's like, show me something. Show me you're serious.
Right.
I'm like, okay. And I sent him some money. And then he emailed me the book. And he goes, if you can, I'll partner with you, and this is our percentage. I said, okay, just, kind of on a verbal, man to man, just go by your word. I don't need to sign anything. Just be a dude. Don't be a punk. And he's like, okay, sounds good. So we came to an agreement. That's it. I took the DocX and PDF that was from the purported flash drives, and then I published the book on September 5th, and it went fully published on September 6th. It takes 24 hours to go hot, and that's the story. That's how it happened.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering that. I said, okay, how did you get your hands on it? And yes, I'm aware of who Courtney Burgess is now. He's been all over.
Right.
He's been on News Nation. I believe he's going to go back on News Nation after the second grand jury interview. And yeah, so he's been making his rounds.
Yeah, and I was the one who brought Ariel Mitchell Kidd to him. So
okay.
I brought the lawyer to him. Yeah, and so, I know both of them. And look, everyone's a grown adult. They can do their own thing. And, we're all kind of a team in a way. If people want to fly the coop, I could fly the coop too. I mean, I got aces up my sleeve. I'm not stupid. I have backups to backups,
Right.
So Courtney wants to put the book back out. I don't want to. I really don't. It's already out there.
Right.
We already told Amazon we're not putting it back up. We're trying to get our residuals and royalties. We just want that first, man. I worked really hard. I spent a lot of money to do this.
Right.
I have other people that had to help me. I had to pay for consultants and sources to corroborate things in the book. It wasn't just like I just put it out.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, in the future, I'd like to do a movie. I think a TV series or a movie scripted like an Aaron Hernandez, like a Amanda Knox, like an O.J. Simpson. They do all these scripted 10-part, limited series. I think it'd be a great story to do the kind of the Diddy, Kim Porter story,
Yeah, I could see this turning into like a docuseries or something, like you said, Amanda Knox and with her ordeal in Italy and Aaron Hernandez, Massachusetts.
Right.
And that, funny enough, Chris, that's how I got my YouTube started. I followed the Aaron Hernandez case. So,
I got so much on that someday. If you want to really do it.
We definitely got to sit down with that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I'll show you some crazy stuff. Yeah.
Chris, are you worried at all that all this came out? That you put yourself out there? Because you remember before we were thinking that Jamal T. Millwood, but I remember the interview. You finally came out. You like, guys, this is me. I put the book out. This was presented to me, and you and Courtney is out there now. Do you guys have any fear or anything?
I mean, there's a couple things that have happened that are a little sketchy. Yes, there's some text messages, there's some phone calls. We know that not only are authorities watching us, kind of, we know that some people close to Diddy are too. Okay. There's a couple situations. I know that Courtney's taking precautions. I know that I am. You never can look over your shoulder every second. Anybody could be got. You can get anybody. Right. You have the patience. You have the will. I leave it in God's hands. So does Courtney. He's a very spiritual person, as am I. And for me, if I could just tell a quick side story, I'd like to say this to your fans too.
Sure.
I revealed who O.J. Simpson's accomplice was at the murders. And when I did that, it took me almost 7 years to do it. And nobody wanted to believe me, and nobody wanted to listen to me, and the media blocked me for years. There's lawsuits, threats, litigation, restraining orders. This was a big, giant mess. But that stuff, that was supposed to go viral for me. And after it didn't, I really lost a lot of hope in what I was doing. And I believe Kim Porter came into my life to show me to continue, and she gave me something. for me to help her and her to help me. And I thank her all the time. I always say, thank you, Kim. Thank you. Because this was supposed to happen to me before. But for some reason, God had it in the cards that I'm supposed to do this for Kim, this viral situation, this worldwide phenomena, the book, Courtney, Ariel, guys like you, journalists, bloggers. Kim is giving us all a piece of this. And I think the other victims are coming out now, like we talked about. Everybody's starting to talk now. I was at a party. I did this.
Right.
I knew this guy. They're all coming out, man. Little Rod, Cassie came out. We have all the Jane Does. We have all the Tony Busby victims. We have Ariel's victims. You see what I'm saying? So there's going to be more, man. I'm telling you. This is just the beginning.
I agree. It is just the beginning. This book catapulted everything. And when you guys finally came out, I was like, okay. I know it's getting real now. And like I said, I've heard rumors that she was writing a book. I've heard it several times, but it was like, didn't know. And then I figured like something was going to come out, and it did. Now, you said, obviously there's a sense of, importance for your security walking out here. Like you said, nothing beats an ambush. But I just want to say be safe. Definitely be safe out here. But it's like you said, it's almost like she's talking to you. So I think you guys will be safe. I think so. You guys will be safe.
And also think how awesome this really is that you have a book that comes out after a woman dies years later, like a treasure chest.
Right.
Like you went and found a treasure, and it's just magic. And that was one of the things that really appealed to me. Look, to be honest, I'll be really honest with you, Max. I didn't think the book would make a dime.
Okay.
I didn't. I published 5 other books. I made like $5,000 total. Nobody paid attention to what I said. Nobody ever said I was a great writer. Nobody ever went viral with any of my other books that had huge stories behind them. No one. Nothing. A couple hundred copies here and there. So for me, when I prayed on it or meditated on it, let's say, I just said, you know what? Just put it out. There's a good chance nobody's going to care, right?
Right.
And then I could pull it down. You can pull it down at any time. Amazon, you can put them up, pull them down, within 24, 48 hours. So, yeah, I was surprised. I was. And then it made sense. Well, it's a topical story. It's current. It's big. Diddy's big. So it made sense. I was like, oh, it's kind of just like when the stars align,
Right.
It's just all lined up. Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely, like you said, you had no idea that this thing was going to go viral, but this thing was brewing already. I remember the day they raided both of his houses, Chris, at the same time. Mm-hmm. I knew it was going to be big. If you give me your opinion on it, Department of Homeland Security was involved. That's how I knew it was going to be big. When I saw them involved, I saw them raid both of his houses simultaneously at the same time. And he didn't get arrested. He was detained for just a little bit. And when the day he got arrested, I never forget it. I said, this thing is not going to die down. Chris, this story hasn't died down. What is your opinions? I mean,
it's not going anywhere.
It's not going anywhere. What do you think? He is facing a mountain of a legal case, Chris. I know you follow OJ, but this is the case right here.
If it goes to trial, this would be one of the biggest trials since OJ for sure.
Right.
Nationally, it involves a black man. It involves multiple victims. It has espionage. It has tapes. It has blackmail, extortion. It's really, nothing will ever be on the level of what OJ was. That was a cultural, worldwide phenomenon. But I will say, of this generation today, this probably is the biggest thing to come down the pike. Absolutely. Now, if he makes it to trial, okay?
Right.
If it goes to trial, if he doesn't cut a plea deal, if he doesn't squeal on a bunch of people and then they say there's no trial, he just goes before the judge has a discrepancy of, is he going to give him 5, 10 years? He's not going to let him off. But I'm saying They may say, you know, he's helped us in the case, but they haven't arrested anybody else, man. I don't know what they're waiting for. So if they're not going to arrest anybody else and they want to put Sean Combs on trial, then yeah, it's going to be a big deal. But the problem is, this is what made OJ so unique. They had cameras in the courtroom. In New York, they don't.
Right.
So you're not going to see it. You're going to read it. Maybe you're going to read the transcripts. How many people want to read 15,000 pages of transcripts?
Right.
They don't. They want to watch it. And that's where New York's really behind the times. They're doing drawings and colorings. Oh yeah, this is Donald Trump today in the courthouse. It's like somebody, like a kindergartner drew it. It's like, what are we doing? Like, why do you guys not have cameras in your courtroom? What are you doing? You know? So that's what I mean. There's going to be some steam taken out of it. It's not going to be like OJ like that. But obviously, there's a lot of celebrities, which is cool. You know, even OJ had a lot of celebrities too. There were a lot of famous people that were involved. Robert Kardashian, Kato Kaelin.
Right.
There was Candace Garvey. There was Faye Resnick, Kris Jenner. There was a lot of stuff. But I think if you were asking me too, what do you think will happen? I think if I were Sean Combs, I would take a plea deal if I were him. Yeah. If not, if he gets hit with the RICO, it's life.
Yeah, it's
just the RICO alone. Forget the guns, forget the sex trafficking, forget it. The RICO alone is like 30 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's how they got the mob guys. That's how they got all the mob guys.
Right. Yeah, they have him for the RICO, and you know, like you said, this case is this generation. This is the biggest case for this current generation. And just to answer your question about cameras in the courtroom, the federal government, they usually don't have cameras in the courtroom. I think they should, though. I don't see why not. I think they should.
Not even New York.
Yeah,
I don't think New York.
Right.
Yeah.
I think they should change that for this case. But I don't think they are. But I do plan on going. I don't know if I'm going to get in the courtroom. The courtroom is only but so big. And I know a lot of people the reporters are going to want to get in there and get their space. But you saying he's facing just a RICO? You saying just a RICO alone is life? Like, essentially for him, it's life because he's 54.
Years. I don't know if I'd say life. Let me take it back. And I'm not a lawyer. I don't know every statute and law and sentencing guideline. Let me just say this, based on my mafia stuff that I've done for many years, okay? RICO, you're looking at 20 to 30 years, okay? Easily. Because usually the racketeering that's a criminal enterprise, right? Racketeer influenced, okay? So that's bad. Tony Ducks Corallo, John Gotti. I guess Gotti, they didn't get him on that eventually. Paul Castellano, Rudy Giuliani, he created the RICO for that. It was created to get the mob guys to make up this new charge. What do we call what these guys do? You see what I mean?
Right.
Like, how do we word this? And that's where they came up with that. And there could be murder inside of RICO. There can be extortion, blackmail, threats. All that's in there. It's not just one thing. There's a myriad of things. And to me, from what I hear right now, he is being investigated for murder.
Yes.
For other people, for multiple people. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I heard that. So how I heard about it is I read an article regarding Keefe D, and he was pretty much saying he did not want to cooperate with the Southern District of New York. And I'm like, wait a minute, what is he talking about? This had nothing to do with him. And I kept reading the article, and it said he assured his family he did not want to cooperate, and he's no snitch. And they was investigating this Tupac connection. Yeah.
Keefe said that, or Diddy said that?
Keefe said that. He said he's no snitch. He wanted to reassure his family that, he's not testifying. I'm paraphrasing, but that's what the article was saying. And
well, the problem is Keefe D's already on tape, so it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's already in go watch Murder Rap. Go listen to Greg Kading's story. They already have it on tape of him already saying that Diddy offered a bag to get rid of Suge and Tupac.
Right.
And that after the shooting, him and Zip Martin called Diddy, and Faith Evans was there. And they said on the phone, was that us? Was that us? Yeah. Let's get that money.
Right.
Now, some people will say, oh, that's hearsay. Keithie's telling us something he said to somebody else. We get it. But still, it's still a bad look. And it's somebody technically saying on tape that there was a conspiracy by Sean Combs to kill Tupac and or Suge Knight. It's on tape.
Right.
So I'm not saying they're going to pinch him. I'm talking about there's some other people that, and look, when Damian Williams, the U.S. attorney, said Sean Combs has threatened witnesses, intimidation, I think that's what he's hinting at, is that, you know, for years, he's threatened to kill people before, like many times. In Kim's book, she says it too, that he put the 22 on the table and stared at her. And when she's staring at a gun, like, what's he doing? Sean thought he was Al Capone. He really did. He got way out of control. His ego went crazy. We put him on a pedestal, just like we put on these other rappers and movie stars and celebrities. They got on this pedestal. And then, look, he's a unique bird. I mean, we're hearing things that from other sources, too. I mean, I don't know who he is. I don't know what his deal is. I don't know why he did some of these things to these people. It's like Courtney calls him Lucifer.
Yeah, he did. I heard him say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying to myself, he actually went under my radar. Like I knew I just wasn't really watching him. I knew he was vlogging and stuff like that. I was listening to Gene Deal, and that's when I started paying attention to him. After I started listening to Gene Deal, he tell his story. But really, I wasn't checking for him too much, Chris, until I didn't really, like you said, he kind of seemed like he was moving around like Al Capone. Like, this is his,
I think nobody really knew until Cassie came forward. Now, Mace, the rapper Mace, right? You know Mace.
Yes.
Mace had come out years ago and said some weird stuff, remember?
Right.
About Diddy and about, like, guys and, like, the casting couch. And if you didn't do this, nobody believed Mace. It sounded crazy. It was like, wait, these guys are gay?
Yeah,
what? Like,
we just
no
laughed it
one
off.
even thought about it. We laughed it off. Then when Jonathan Oddie was interrogated in that interview, nobody knew what he was talking about either. Like, what's he talking about? Who's Cassie? I didn't even know who Cassie was. Okay? Now, when Cassie filed her lawsuit, and then Little Rod, I think they came close in time, right? Didn't they both come out similar?
Yeah, Lil Rod came out. Yeah, it was kind of in close proximity, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when those came out, that opened the floodgates. That started to say, wait a minute, this guy's the Black Epstein or this guy's the next Weinstein. This is him. And that's what opened the floodgates. That led to the raids. That led to people. And I think, to be honest, I think that's that made Courtney finally come forward. Be willing to do something.
Okay. Yeah, because he came forward and it just really, the volcano really erupted when he came forward.
But do you see what I mean with the timing? Like, all of a sudden, then Kim's book comes out.
Right.
After he's had it for 5 years, 6 years. Right.
Yeah, I'm looking at, like you said, the sequence of events. These complaints come out. They went public. And, yeah, the rest was history. Everything just started just blowing up. And our book
came out in September. Their lawsuits came out in the spring and late spring.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So, and I think just like on Weinstein, just like on Epstein, it takes the first domino piece to get knocked over. Somebody's got to knock it over. And for those cases, it took a long time. It took decades. People didn't believe them. They didn't believe the girls. They didn't want to believe the girls. You feel me?
Right.
They didn't want to hear any of it. You know, those guys ran big money enterprises and famous people were having great parties and everyone's living the life, drugs, women, men. Come on, dude. I mean, you look at it, it's kind of like Bacchanalian, but it's just like this fun part of life. And they just took it too far, man. It's one thing to have a party, man. It's okay.
Yeah, they took it too far.
You want to drink? You want to be like Alexander the Great and drink yourself to death? Go ahead. But we don't need to subjugate women and men and force them to do stuff like that. You don't. He took it too far. And I really believe what Courtney says, Lucifer, the devil, he sold his soul. I think he did.
Yeah.
No person does that.
Yeah, it could have progressively got
Seriously.
worse over the years, like you said. He may have
Yeah,
started
yeah.
out because everybody knew about his parties. Tyrese just came out
Right.
recently and said, "Yes, I was going to the Diddy parties." He said they were the talk of the town, and I do believe,
Yeah,
yeah, he had one party, and then they said he had an after party after the party.
correct.
That's
Correct.
where the problems come in at.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Right. And if you look at it, look, man, come on. If you went to college or you lived or went to college parties or even high school, and this is the progression. It's like you kind of have the normal party. It starts at 8 o'clock at night. Nobody's really totally drunk. Everyone's kind of cordial. They're having fun. The music gets on. Then it gets midnight. And then it's 2 a.m. And everybody's starting to get angry.
right.
And they're coming down off the high and they're blowing the white and the brown. And they're starting to look at each other a little strange. And then, oh, look, a bunch of strippers just show up. Oh, okay.
Right.
Like, man, it's like, my dad used to say, nothing good happens after 2 a.m.
Right. I heard
Right.
that.
So it's like, it's just these people. And look, I'm going to tell you something right now. From what I've heard, not what I've seen, from what I've heard, there's a lot of people on these tapes, man. A lot.
Yeah, I've
Not
heard the
like
same.
10, I'm talking like 50 celebrities. 50.
Now, there's two different types. There's the regular party and the freak offs. Are you talking about the freak offs?
Correct. I'm talking about the freak offs.
Oh man. Yeah, Chris,
Like
this is do you think this will ever go public? I mean, if he go to trial, it just everything
Yeah,
is
it's
pertinent
going to
to
be
us.
public. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it'll be public. I don't, if the feds confiscated all of Courtney's tapes, they could be gone forever. We may never see those. A
Right.
jury would see parts of those that look, I think the federal government and the U.S. attorney, the investigators, all their people, they're going to be like, they're going to have so much stuff. They're going to be like, we can't show all this. We can't. We just can't. Like, let's grab a couple main cases, right? If Bieber's on there and he's underage, absolutely, that has to be brought up. If anybody's a minor, that has to be brought up. If it's a bunch of famous actors and athletes and they're caught either cheating on their wife or their husband or they're doing whatever, let's let that go. You feel me?
Right.
That's not criminal, okay? It's not the Scarlet Letter. They're not committing a crime because they cheat on their spouse. So let those go. Let's see if people are being drugged. Is there kidnapping? Is there forced? Are they being held against their will? Is there coercion? That's what we're looking for. So what I'm saying is we will never see 70% of these tapes ever.
I agree.
And that's a shame. Yeah.
I agree, because if it's not pertinent to the case, like you said,
Yeah,
if they're just
right.
there, like, fornicating and there's no crime being committed, then yeah, we don't have to show that. But if there's something that they're
Right.
engaging in some type of crime, someone's knocked out,
Correct.
they'll look
Correct.
into that. Yeah.
Yes. If somebody's unconscious and they see something, they're going to be like, who is that? Run a facial recognition. Well, it looks a lot like blank, blank, blank. No, find out. You go find out who that is. Do you understand? And you come back to me. And then we'll issue a subpoena for the grand jury. Is this you? Look, they're going to be able to cut deals. And like with Epstein too, look, they're not going to want to burn down the whole forest. They're not.
Mm-hmm.
They had Epstein. He's gone. They got Ghislaine Maxwell. Get rid of her. They're gone. That's it. Let it go. The banks had to pay these women hundreds of millions of dollars, right? They've settled with them. Move on, right?
Right.
Same with Weinstein. They got Weinstein. The girl sued him. I'm sure he'll lose money somewhere down the road. They got him. It's over. It's done. They're not going to go after all the studio executives and all the agents. You see what I mean?
Right.
So with Diddy, we got the whale. We got Lucifer. If we see it, then we'll get him. But if it's borderline, let's just focus on this guy first.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they're going to have so much shit, man. I'm telling you right now. They're going to have so much stuff. Courtney's not the only one that has those. Come on. Diddy's been taping people for 30 years. You think you think Kim only found the key ones?
Right.
Diddy probably gave them other people. There's other people involved.
Oh yes. My theory is if he goes down, those tapes are going to get leaked. He's not going to go down alone, man. Those, I honestly believe this is just my thinking, not that he did anything or his family did anything to make me feel that way. But if it was me, he has the bones buried somewhere else. And if something happens,
I heard he flew him out of the country.
I heard that rumor as well. I heard that it's in a vault somewhere.
They're flown out. They're like in a different country. He took some of these girls to remote islands. Yeah. They went to like very like remote places. I don't know if we're saying like the Caribbean or like towards Fiji, like outside. There's other places that these people were going, and that would not be hard to have a stash house out there, pay a guy, sit here, don't touch my safe. You're not going to know the fucking combination, right? And you just fucking sit here. And you get paid, $80,000 a year to sit there. So, look, I think with Sean, I've said this before, he comes from a background of a criminal. His father got killed, okay, as a drug dealer, right?
Right.
His mom or his aunt, whatever people are saying who she is, I'm not trying to disparage her or anything. This culture, he was a pedigree coming out of kind of the underworld, okay? And he was better than his dad. I told somebody, I do a lot of conversations with people. I told somebody the other day, I think he's Al Capone. He's like, well, what do you mean? He's not a mob guy. I go, dude, Al Capone was like a G, right? And then when you say his name, everybody knows his name, right?
Everybody knows his name.
And you're like, yeah. And he had all these people killed. This guy got killed. That guy, he physically did it himself when he started out. There's a famous story of him doing that. Then they would extort people. He's a G, and he hits the guy with the baseball bat. And like, it's like a Diddy, to me, when you watch the footage of him at the brunch, the power brunches, the white parties, he looks like Al Capone. He's just in a different clothes, and he's in a different era.
Right.
But to me, he's Al Capone.
Yeah,
so
the
to me,
suits,
I'm like, give this guy some credit. And I know it sounds effed up, and everyone's gonna cry about me saying that. What are you trying to honor him? I'm not honoring him, but give the guy some credit, dude. He did something that, like, you guys worship Al Capone, you worship Gotti. You think John Gotti was a good guy? Why do you do 50 documentaries about him? Why do you do Hitler stories? People like the bad guys. You know what I mean?
That is
true. They do. We all do. Okay, watch this. What's the name of one of Sean Combs' kids? Jesse James.
Right.
Another celebrity just named their kid Jesse James. What's up? Yeah. Why are you naming him after a bank robber who murdered people? Do you see what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's we are enamored by bad people. Hollywood makes projects. They glorify criminals all the time. Remember Frank Lucas, right? And Courtney even says his name. American Gangster. Denzel Washington. Why did you go see that?
Right.
Because we get fired up when we see people that do whatever they want and they kick ass and take names. Even though they're bad people, we still, in the back of our head, we have some fascination with how those people do it. It's like we want to be them, but we won't because we don't want to go to jail or get killed. You know what I mean?
That's what the excitement is about, because this case is not dying down. You're right. There's some similarities. The suits he used to wear. I mean, Al Capone is from Brooklyn. Yes.
Right.
In rap music, they have talked about Al Capone and John Gotti. Right.
Yes. Right. Mm-hmm. They were enamored. They were enamored by the mob. When they wore the zoot suits and the shoes and the pinstripes, they were, and that's why Tupac goes, "You think you the mob? We the mob." That's why look, the Italians invented it. The rap culture, hip hop, they took it to their own level, but they borrowed a lot of the stuff from that world. They did. Okay. But they made music. Look, they made great music. I just listened to a lot of the songs. Now we're talking about this Notorious B1 stuff with Notorious B.I.G. Do you know that story about the song Juicy Fruit and Big Daddy and how they might have stole the song?
Right.
You following that stuff now? Yeah. So my point is, these people made great music. It helped fuel the clubs. It fueled the industry, alcohol, drugs, partying. Come on. I mean, it did, and Suge was a big part of it. So was Sean Combs. Those guys were kind of like mirrors of each other, right? They both were kind of badass dudes. They both had drug dealers that worked for them. They both were in the drug game. They were in the music game. Look at a lot of the music producers. There's another guy, I won't say his name. I just did some research on him. He had a big drug charge too. Look who just went to jail. Fetty Wap. Didn't he just go to jail?
Right. Yeah, he
exactly. Did. So it's like, it's part of, I'm not going to say like their culture, but I'm saying it's just part of like the game. You know, the cars, the shoes, the clothes, the drugs, the women, the guns. A lot of it's the mob, man. The mob. What did the mob do? Gambling, casinos, prostitution, extortion, contraband, weapons. You know, it's fascinating, man. I try to just kind of look at it on the side of like, this is the life that we have here on this planet, and we're going to get justice too. But we're also getting entertained at the same time.
Right. We're getting it's all intertwined in one. We get the entertainment part. I mean, like you said, this guy's moving around. I have said it too. He's moving around like Al Capone. Yeah, everything is there. And like you said, it's I had said this on a live chat. I said, I'm gonna be honest with you. Some of this is entertaining. I know there's some lives that have been affected here.
Right.
And I'm not like joking about that, but as far as people that are into this case, Chris, this case is not going to die down. It's not. You know what I thought?
No.
I seriously thought like, okay, he got arrested. Give it a day or two. People are not going to be talking about it, right? Because it's not going to be cameras anyway. Nope, I was wrong.
Yeah. Because like the Courtney Burgesses came out, the Ariel Mitchell, the Tony Busby.
Yes.
The girl, Adria English, the other girl in California, she's coming out. Like, and there's going to be more.
Oh my God.
I mean, come on. Like, he did these parties. One source told me he did the white parties, and he had parties at his houses on Star Island, in LA, in Atlanta, and then he would fly to other countries and have parties. They also went to Dubai. They went to the Middle East. They met princes, kings, shahs, like, I don't know if that's the right word, but
this guy was
I'm
connected.
telling you, man, I saw this. Yeah, bro, I'm telling you, if you look at my story on OJ and you look at some of my stuff I did, some podcast episodes where I talk about the mob in Miami and the drugs. One of the guys used to visit the King of Spain. He just knew the King of Spain.
Wow.
Do you just know the king of another country?
Like,
it's institutional. It's like, you know what I'm saying? His name was Don Arano.
Yeah.
You can look him up. It's a fascinating story. Oh, yeah. In Don flew us. We went to meet the King of Spain. What? Why? I thought he's a mob guy. Yeah, he knew Meyer Lansky. He's close to the Meyer. And then we met the King Carlos, whatever they called him. It's like, what? Oh, yeah. He bought a boat from him. We built him a boat. Bro, this jet-setting, rich celebrity world is what a lot of us are entertained by and also fascinated with. And these people, just like on OJ, Turnberry Isle, Joey Ippolito, Don Arano, Don Sofer, they're right in front of you. They lived this life that you and I probably will never live, okay? But it's just this kind of, not Dionysus, but it's just this money and fame and women and sex and drugs, and it goes to other countries too. I'm telling you right now. I knew another friend. He was a male stripper. He was a male dancer. He wanted me to make a movie about his life. He went on a plane to fucking the Middle East too.
Wow.
Oh, we had these Saudis and yeah. So it's just, it's just part of the thing, man. The guy's name I forgot is Khashoggi. You can look him up.
Adnan Khashoggi. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about?
I remember a Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous episode with him.
He was CIA.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that. Yeah, he was. Yep.
Yeah, I remember him.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it was. You remember Lifestyles of Rich and Famous?
Oh yeah, with Robin Leach.
Yeah, he interviewed him.
That's like a Biggie line, and now I'm doing Lifestyles of Rich and Famous with Robin Leach.
Yeah, it's this is like I said, you mentioned other people are talking about this now. And I know this one lady is talking about it in LA. She's setting the streets on fire right now. You had Courtney B, you had Gene Deal, you have the other former bodyguard. everybody is coming out now and telling their story. And then you have the book. It's a recipe for this to be one of the biggest cases since OJ and Al Capone. This is it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep. He's living like the modern day Al Capone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. And this one is interesting too, because it goes into the entertainment industry, the music, movies, TV. Like, you know, they love to say all these celebrities' names, and they were at the parties. You're right. And Leo was there, DiCaprio, and Oprah, and Tyler Perry, and, you know, T.D. Jakes was there, and Al Sharp. I saw a picture of Al Sharpton there.
Yeah.
Somebody just sent me one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, they gave Diddy a key in Miami to the city, and then they gave him one in New York.
In New York, yes.
And now they revoked both. And it's like, look, we're going to learn a lot from this too. That we can't let this partying get so out of control where it hurts and possibly unalives people.
Right.
You know what I mean? We've got to find the limit to it and just not get so out of control. You know, alcohol is promoted so much. You know, a lot of drugs are kind of legalized and promoted. I'm not trying to be like preacher boy. I'm just saying, like, you know, when you watch TV, when I grew up, they didn't allow liquor to be advertised. I don't know if you know that or not.
I remember.
When George Bush became president, the next day, all the liquor companies could come back on the air.
I remember.
For decades, yes. You didn't see vodka commercials. You didn't. Do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember.
And then they brought it back, and now it's everywhere. Jack Daniels, Wild Turkey. Like, it's just a part. Oh, everywhere, toast up. Everybody drink up. It's just this, you know, it's the society of not only like cigarettes and alcohol, weed and whatever, and it's just everything, man. It's just like too much. It's like, and I got caught up in it too. Don't get me wrong. You know, I changed my life because I had to too, but I lived this life too, man.
Yeah, all of us, we all had that youth. Yeah, we all had that young, youthful side where we indulge, you know.
It was fun, you know. I mean, it's a change of perspective, and it's just a different. I don't know. There's too much to get into, but yeah.
Well, in closing, I was just going to say, I really appreciate you coming on, and like I said, I remember I'm sitting there at my computer. I'm like, her book came out, and I remember it. And like I said, I listened to both versions, and yeah, it's just setting it up. So, Chris, in closing, do you have any final words for us? And we want you to come back. We do. We want you to come back.
Yeah, I'd love to come back. Yeah, and I'd love to do some other stuff. I still would love for justice for some of the victims and the OJ story. I think you would be fascinated by my journey on that. There's a lot of kind of racial implications and media, and there's a lot of stuff there. So I'd love to do something with you again. But I'd like to thank your listeners for their time today. And, you know, stay tuned. We're going to keep going. People keep coming forward, keep talking, telling great stories. And I really look forward to your analysis of the other stuff. And we're going to see what happens with Courtney this week. He's going to be in there within the next couple of days. So you're going to see some new stuff come out. And, the Diddy thing is pretty much the biggest story right now in all its branches. So let's all just keep working towards an end goal of justice and also truth, and maybe a little entertainment also in there.
Chris Todd, the publisher and co-author of Kim Lost Words, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Max. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Take care.